E te iwi tēnā koutou, tēnā katoa tātou, I roto I tēnei pō. Kia ora everybody, Che Wilson from Te Pai Pai Waho, connecting to you tonight through a number of different platforms. Nā reire mi I kawatu ana, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Tēnei te ara keirunga, te aro tēnei tupua, te aro tēnei ariki, te aro rangi rau ka pape takuta nei, tēnei Te Pai Pai Waho e tūnei, turuturo hiti hoka maua kia tīna, hui e. Tai ki. Kia ora tātou. Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. It looks like the internet connection might not be very strong, but I will carry on. And tonight's kaupapa is kaupapa number 6, episode 6 of series 7, season 7. And what I'm talking about tonight is the governance and operations of a marae. And before I do that, just a big mihi to everybody. And e tangi ana ki o tātou mate. Kei ngā kuia whaene o te Waipounamu, Whae Karen, e moe, e oki. E te tau, Jamal, koutou mā, tēnei tangi atu ana, Auntie Aroha, e moe. Ko koe te he o ngā anahero I hoa o ngā mano. No reira, aere atu rā. Mā korua te ara e wawai, mo tērā o ngā taniwa I roto o tāmaki makaurau, kei te pāpā jau, ko koe, ko koutou katoa ki te pō. Ki te atu rā I te ara, ki te watana maru, e moe, e oki. O ki tonu mai ki a tātou ngā mauitangi o tātou. As I said, Che Wilson here, connecting to you tonight to talk about governance and operations of a marae. And I think there's 3 parts I want to talk about tonight. Oh, nice one, bro. Tēnā koe. Tēnā koutou. 3 things I want to talk about tonight. The trustees, the committee, and the pai pai. And I'm not sure when people see the title of this that you think I'd talk to the pai pai. But here goes. So marae are created through the Ture Whenua as well. And one of the real mongrels about marae is that we have the system that was established through the courts, which was deliberately set up so that we'll fight against each other, where trustees have certain roles, where committees have certain roles, and never the twain shall meet. And you hear so many nightmare stories around trustees and committee members taking each other to court, trying to say who's the chief walla walla, and meanwhile the poor marae suffers. And then you get all of those people who then blame it on the marae when it's not the marae's fault, it's the people. So yeah, the trustees are the legal, those that have legal responsibility over a marae. And the committee, their job is supposed to be to do the operations of the marae. I've added in the pai pai because I want to talk about them later. So what do I mean by all of this stuff? So trustees, theirs is a legal responsibility, and so if people stay on the papakainga, you're supposed to have a license to occupy, and that's supposed to be given out by the trustees. The trustees are supposed to make sure that all of the legalities associated with being registered to serve food, all of that stuff to operate is technically sound. And often we're expected to do all of these things even if we don't know. And one of the biggest challenges is that we want to have a representative from each whānau as trustees, even if those whānau don't turn up to meetings or all of these other things. Then you have the committee who's supposed to just focus in on operations and the daily upkeep and running of the marae who do it really well, and then they also are able to navigate issues really well. You'll get other marae who do it terribly and just fight each other and take each other to court. And we love giving mana to a Pākehā system, even though it's called the Māori Land Court. The Māori Land Court is not Māori. The Māori Land Court is the Crown. And some of us believe, because it's got the term Māori in it, that it's Māori when it's not. Yes, Pepe. The big challenge, though, is you have this, and then you have the paipai who have to focus in on the upkeep of kawa and tikanga. And surely, if your kawa is on the mark, then you're upholding law. Surely, if your tikanga is on the mark, then you're able to operate and apply common sense through kawa and tikanga to whatever the situation is. And when it's done properly, it operates really, really well. And I just want to share that because too many of our marae will focus in on the law because we have been brainwashed to believe that the law has all the answers. It's a bit the same with iwi, land trusts and corporations. We believe that the law has the answers, and therefore we go to lawyers and accountants and investment people for the answers. And don't get me wrong, they are employed to do certain things, and they will stick to their role simply because if they give you the wrong advice, you can sue them. So they are going to guide you in a certain way, which might not be best in alignment, might not be in alignment with your kawa and your tikanga, because you haven't asked them to comment on kawa and tikanga, and at least 8 times out of 10 these days, used to be 9 times out of 10, but at least 8 times out of 10, most of them don't know kawa or tikanga anyway. And so I suppose this session is really about how do you find the sweet spot where you run the trust and the committee and the paipai as if it's just one. And yeah, that might make things hard in it, then the jobs may fall on 1 or 2 people. But I think the most important thing is that we focus in on the fact that if we believe in our kawa and our tikanga, and we don't weaponize our kawa and tikanga like we weaponize law, that can take us to a different place. I see kawa and tikanga as LAW. I don't see it as LORE, because LORE has been mystified. And kawa and tikanga are all about safety. And therefore I say it's LAW, which will be different to others. But, when I read Huirangi Waikirepuru's translation of kawa ora, he calls it universal LAW. LORE is the stories associated with the universal LAW. And I think those and the legacy is also important that we recognize that it was a difference as kawa and tikanga focused in on justice, whereas Western law focuses in on law, not what's just. Really key. We've got to have the discussions to find out how do we start to navigate back to our source? How do we get back to the puna that starts our river? Because if we can get to the source of our rivers, of our waterways, then we can then access Waiora and then navigate our rivers with a new lens so that our tikanga is consistent, our tikanga and mentally. Because then that takes us to a new paradigm where things become tika. Where things become tika, and tika for me isn't right. Tika is where things are in balance, and not toti toti or, lopsided or, shonky, but where they are aligned and balanced. Because I think there are sometimes decisions that are made, and I've discussed this many times, where people go, oh, did you hear about what happened at the park? Oh, they did this. And, oh, no, I hate to hear that was so wrong. Whereas the skills and the abilities at the park, that decision with the skills and abilities at that time. I'll just leave that there just for you to think about. But Katiake, I just wanted to share a bit around governance and operations. And I want to share this because we're such good ballheads. We talk about the governance and operations, and we use all of these flash words. These are the buzzwords, and I use them myself. I'm one of those ballheads where we go, oh yeah, well, the governance and the operations of the Marae needs to be this, this, and this. When actually, why don't we just slow down a bit? And what's the kawa? What's the tikanga? What's the ritanga of our marae, so that we can find the best place? Hi, Tereng. Can you give my wife and kids a big love, please? So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit because I'm worried that we are expected to fill out all of these different forms to get funding, and you got to do it just to play the game sometimes. But I think we should be having a deeper wānanga around how do we return back to the source, the pure source of our river of knowledge, so that we can remember and recreate. And I say remember deliberately, and I say has been influenced by the Western law, and how we then conflict with each other on really dumb and silly things because, oh no, that's the tikanga. And we then weaponize it. I hope I made some sense. So katiake, e me I kau atu ana ki koutou, wait on, you probably might. Oh yeah, nah, not. I can talk to you about that offline, Matt. Just remember, te mana o te wai, orai tātou, me o tātou tuakana, ka ora te tai ao. Ka te ake, e mi I kau atu ana ki koutou, I roto I tēnei pō, me te wakaere ake I nei kupu, ki te tā uu nui o rangi nui a tāne e tū nei, tū mai te kawa ora, turu ohiti, whakamaua kia tīnā hui e, tai ki e. Oh, one final thing. Heaps of people asking me about Matariki. Go on to Rangi's, Rangi's got awesome kōrero, go there. Kia ora koutou. He might just need